Computer. Lights.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. So we're going to work today on springs. But first, I want to do a few things. One, I need to go put my camera's battery on the charger because we've got to do that. But first, I'll go on ahead and, before we start that, I'll go on ahead and save our this month or this week's comic so that we don't accidentally mess it up. Right, because this becomes 10-4, good buddy. $2.54. Just chugging along. Not very fast. Not very fast. And we'll put the number on here before I forget. Number 254. And as we do with every one of these, we change the font. And we'll kill you. Kill you. All right. Now, we've got to put the battery of my camera onto the charger. So, because I have a shoot this afternoon, hopefully the shoot will be in the golden hour, which is what I'm hoping for here. A little bit of hope for that kind of thing, you know. One of the other things I'm going to do is I have an auxiliary battery right here. So we've got a little blue battery, my little black battery. And of course, they take different chargers, naturally. You can't actually charge the blue battery with the charger. So we are looking for a battery charger, which has wandered off, says George, being George. I don't think the battery charger ended up back in here. This is the first shoot since I cleaned my office, so I tried really hard to not lose things, but I can't guarantee that happens, you know? So we're going to look through all of these things to see if we've got anything in here. Then we're going to look around and figure out, where did I plug in my charger? Good morning, Brent. I found my charger. There's my charger. Now we just have to find a home for it at the moment. This looks like the best plausible home. Charging. Righty. I have a shoot this afternoon, and so want to make sure that I've charged my battery. Somewhere around here, in a backwater corner of my office, is a SETI eel. A SETI eel. I think I'm funny. It's a SETI eel. Hey, George, you want up here? No, you don't? Okay. You're not scared of my SETI? Oh, come on. He's a scary SETI eel. It's October. Aren't we supposed to be scared of SETI eels? I gotta say, man, that SETI eel freaked me out as a kid. I need less coffee. Maybe. So we've had kind of a rough week for my buddies. And so it's made me think kind of reflectively, think a little bit about things and ponder stuff. And I'm, thinking things through and wondering about stuff. I've got I think a little bit about things like, just little things like this is my dad's watch. And it's still going. And I don't know how long it'll go. You think about that. All watches sort of need maintenance. And it's still keeping accurate time. It's still correct as far as, Houston time. It does know that it's October 2nd. And I don't know. I mean, is it running on battery? I don't know anything about it. But it kind of makes me think. You know what I mean? It's like this was on my dad's wrist. Well, and that's part of why I'm in this mood, so to speak. This mood. I wouldn't call it a mood. Probably a mood. That's why I'm thinking this way and pondering, right? Because we've had a lot of loss. It's not just Troy, it's Chelsea too. So it's been a rough weekend. In fact, I'm going to be doing Geek Tink by myself tonight, I think, because I'm the only one who sadly hasn't lost somebody. But I mean, this hasn't been easy for us. All of 2021's been pretty sad and lousy and hurt and things. And it may just be that my friend group is now in their 40s and 50s, and it's about that time. You know what? I'll explain all of it to you offline. It's normal, I guess I should say. Sad, but normal. But like I said, maybe it's just that's where we all are, right? We're at that age. I was thinking about this the other day. My grandfather on my mom's side died in 1989. And then my grandmother in 1995. On my dad's side, I only had my grandmother. I had a step-grandfather and he passed away in 91. And she didn't pass away until 05, 06, right? My mom passed away in 02, and of course my dad this year. And I keep thinking about this, and I mean, it's part of the nature of life, right? Because we all, it's the churn, right? It's the churn, as they say in The Expanse. It's the churn. But I keep thinking about the yesterdays. And sometimes I feel like I get stuck in the yesterdays, like I'm wishing that it was, my papa and my Gigi, and sending papa and me to the Sonic to pick up burgers and stuff like that, and watch TV for the night and watch weird grandparents things that they want to watch, which for some reason I thought was just fine. I mean, I was being born in 72. I was in my teens when my grandfather passed. So I remember very well my grandfather, the first of my grandparents to pass away. And, my grandmother worked through the 90s, and she was still working in the late 90s and going to work every day and opening her shop and running a full day and going home. And then she finally said, you know what? I'm done. She bought herself a really nice Bernina and closed her doors to the shop and went and retired. She'd bought her house outright. She only had to pay for her utilities in Nowheresville, Texas. Her Social Security checks easily paid for all the utilities and for her car payments. And, it was a thing. It's just a thing. I keep thinking about all of this, and it keeps coming back up because we keep losing more people. I don't know. I feel kind of like we should do a Springs comic on that. So maybe we'll do a Springs comic on that. We haven't brought Martha out in a while, right? Martha is sort of our wisdom person. She's the one that we kind of think about whenever we have kind of these ponderables. Okay. And down, we'll do 4 panels on this one. Do a new layer. We haven't drawn her in a while. Feel kind of like we could put her here, right? Martha is older than all the other guys on Spring. She always has been. She's been the old wise woman. And so when I tend to put her on the beach, I tend to put her sort of hunched over, more pronounced curve. To her back, right? And she always builds sandcastles because they make a good analogy of kind of life in general. Right? And usually, whenever we deal with Martha, she builds sandcastles. And sometimes I'll just put her in silhouette like this. And so you can kind of just still see just the essence of what's going on. I like working in silhouette. It's always kind of cool. But this lets you concentrate on what she's saying and less on what she's doing, which is important. Right? And we'll, of course, destroy her sandcastle here. As generally does happen. Always does with her. It's part of the story. Right? I remember the first time I did some of these, people were like, I don't get it. What are you talking about? Right? Because Martha is somewhat difficult to follow. So let's think up her dialogue. I feel like she's been thinking about thinking. Been thinking that this is so it really bothers me that this is not centered. Like with Photoshop, this is centered. Right? You start here and it goes with this, it's centered, but the cursor is left justified. So it has to go and then go and then so it's moving the text around, so you have no earthly idea where the text is going to land until after you've written everything. Which means that every time you make an edit or an adjustment, you have to move the text around. It's one of the reasons why I say Clip Studio Paint, as much as I love everything else about Clip Studio Paint, its text handling tools really aren't good. me make It's not what I want to say, but we'll get there. I feel like that's closer to what I'm trying to say. Maybe these panels don't fit. And maybe this guy belongs here. And this guy belongs here. And what we're missing is these panels need to be swapped. Sometimes we just need to kind of do these things, work it out. Right? And we'll take this guy and we'll do something else. We'll have Sandcastle's gone. And we will put her like so. And then punchline, if you will, is here. I think I'm going to have to workshop this a little, but we're getting there. things are maybe stories. And maybe it's our. Like that. Maybe it's earth. Like dirt. Maybe, thinking about dads and moms and what do we have of them? Right? I mean, I have my dad's watch. He was wearing it the day that he passed. And I think a lot about this, right? And I like it too. Thank you. And I think about, hey, this is my dad's watch. It's a thing, right? And it's still counting the time. And it's got the correct time and the correct date, which means that it's not running low, it's not running down. The last time that dad replaced the battery or wound it, I don't know what to do with this watch. Someday it'll stop. And that'll be the last action. The last thing that my dad did. Right? Someday this watch will stop. And when it does, it's the last thing he did. The last response to an action he took. And I think about this because long after that, long after the battery dies on that watch, his stories will still be here. The things that he did will still be here. Because that's really what I'm thinking about. I knew Troy's mom. She was a sweet lady. She took care of my kid. She even had to freak out when a curtain rod fell on his head. And my kid didn't seem to mind at all. But she was completely beside herself. And that story will live long after all the other things. That story will live. My grandfather taking me to Sonic to get burgers for the family when I was 11 years old. That story will live. And me riding in his truck, he was an electrician. So he had a truck that smelled of grease and a small amount of ozone. And I mean, he was a lineman. He did line work. And I will forever associate that with him. His story lives long past it. I have his watch too over there. It sits in my little cabinet, and at some point in time, it died, and I thought of that whenever it died too. It's a thing. It's an interesting thing. The things are etched in the earth, but our stories are etched in our hearts. So our goal in life is to say good things, to make great stories. All right. Get this centered up too. Almost feel like I should say our things are etched in the earth, but our stories are etched in our hearts, and our hearts last longer. Time is so hard in what we make. People change its meaning or it gets destroyed. And maybe I want some people. Some people think that our ultimate goal in life is to build great things. But I've been thinking that time is so hard on what we make. People change its meaning or it gets destroyed. Really, I think that our goal in life is to say good things and make great stories. Our things are etched in the earth, but our stories are etched in our hearts. There we go. That feels better. Let's go on ahead and cook it in and make this work. So I'll grab the stylus and we'll go on ahead and start working on this. Exactly. People remain in our lives long after they're gone. Alive. As Mookie had said, he's not really dead so long as we remember him. And later, Leonard Nimoy himself said, life is like a garden. Memories can be had, but only for a short time. And then they go into memory. Looks like as usual, I am losing some of my streams here. So if you guys are losing me here, don't worry about it. It'll come back in time. I seem to have this problem every morning at about this time. I think Comcast has a traffic problem or something. This is the time when everybody in the neighborhood gets onto their Zoom call. I don't know what's happening, but whatever's the story, at about 9:30-ish or whatever, I lose connectivity for a little while, and then it comes back. There we go. It's funny, when I first made Martha, this character, she was, I mean, at that point in time, I still had a grandparent alive. And when I had them, both parents and a grandparent were still with me at that point. I had lost 3 of my grandparents, but I hadn't lost all 4 of them yet. And I think about how she was the one that, to me, felt like, she was ancient. Yeah, it's, we're having that, it's 9:30 in the morning problem. I think too many people are trying their morning Zoom calls in this neighborhood or something. Whatever's the story about this time, it looks like it's becoming really consistent. At about this time every day, I start having problems with my streams. It even says it right here. It says, looks like one of your streams is having connection issues. Stand by. We're trying to restore the connection. I don't know which streams are going and which ones aren't, but somebody's not making it. Oh, there we go. We're all back now. So it looks like Facebook that decided to drop off a cliff today. What do I know, right? Anyway, when I made originally these characters, and I had Martha for the first time, I don't get it. Martha was this old lady in her original incarnation, kind of representing the old wise person in the group, right? But like I said, I had not, at that point when this was created, I still had a grandparent and I had both parents. Right? And so, commenting on Twitch, watching on YouTube, huh? That's good. And, always a good thing. Oh, and that's also, what are we doing? What's the point of this show, right? Because I really appreciate the viewers, certainly. I like the fact that you brought me up to 3 viewers, Brent, but they're all you. Oh man, that's funny. Anyway, I've been thinking a lot about this. What is the point of this show? I mean, primarily my point here is that I draw now more than I have ever drawn in my life. More regularly, more consistently. I keep you company every day. And maybe that's fine. I've been talking a lot to people who keep trying to tell me that I need to do more, like advertise. And I was thinking, what would I advertise? Come join me for coffee? It's kind of silly. And I'm not saying that this is a bad thing at all. I'm simply saying I know that there's like a point, Seafoam, SIC foam. There's a point to everything. And maybe I'm okay with it being this. It's just me doing work in the morning. You're joining me. Sometimes other people join me. I wonder what happened to Ghost Hand. I haven't seen Ghost Hand in a while. Right? Hope Ghost Hand's okay. Haven't seen Gray in a while. You know what I mean? It's like, it's all good. And maybe this is good. I feel like I'm making my small change in the world. Sometimes we're silly. Sometimes we're serious. Right? But we get the work done. And we're here. And we keep each other company. And that's important, right? Let me put a little shell out here. So it's, the beach. And that is also important, I think. Well, and I appreciate that you're watching the show for that. You know what I mean? Seafoam. Seafoam is cool stuff. When I go to the beach, what I end up doing is spending an inordinate amount of time sketching seafoam. Probably too much time sketching seafoam. It's funny, I'm not that big on getting into the water per se, but I love watching the water. I could watch the water all day long, and I have. That's exactly what I did when I was in Hawaii. During the day, I was there to take care of the kid, my best bud's kid, while he was overseas. He had me go in there and take care of her and just, make sure she got fed and make sure somebody was at the house and stuff like that. But she was at school all day. So I was like, cool. So she'd go to school and I'd drive to the other side of the island because the north side's like really cool. And they, of course, were in Honolulu. And so I go on the other side, take my lawn chair and a sketchbook and paper, and I'd get underneath a palm tree. And I mean, it was like, and I'd find like the place where nobody wanted to be because the sea was very rough. And there's a point on the north side of the island where the sea is extraordinarily rough, really, really rough. And so I went there to the north side of the island, and I put up my chair on the rocky, really rough volcanic rock, you know, and I just sat there with a pencil and a sketch pad and just drew the waves. And they're huge swells, these massive, like 9-foot, 10-foot, 12-foot swells that came in and crashed onto volcanic rock. So nobody wanted to surf it. Nobody wanted to swim in it. And so it was great. There was nobody there but me. I had an entire side of Hawaiian beach all to myself because I didn't really need to get in the water. I was under a palm tree, sitting on the rocks, just having a lot of fun. Those are stories, right? We'll start here. So, kind of going along here like this. We'll do this. The funny part is that my grandmother could never kneel like this on the beach. I mean, she could at one point, but not in my lifetime. So it's humorous to me that Martha, who represents sort of my grandparents, there we go. We'll just do this and this. I'm going to put little flags out here. Like so. There's a song by Asia, which came out in the 80s, I would assume. But it's interesting because it's an obscure Asia song. And I just was hearing it this morning on the radio. And it sounds exactly like a song from Bubblegum Crisis, which is an anime from the 80s and 90s, which I find really intriguing because I didn't know that that was a thing. I mean, I guess I should have known because my best friend is notoriously fond of a pretty horrible movie from the 80s, which clearly the opening scene of Bubblegum Crisis just walked right off with that opening. But the TLDR on this is that there are TLDR is I've got that song stuck in my head now. There we go. Now I pretty much got the artwork in, right? I'm going ahead and save it. And, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of stretch my legs a little. Walk around, kind of do some stuff, stretch. Make sure that there's no chip in my camera. That kind of stuff. So it's a thing. At some point, I'm going to need to message my client and ask when they want to get together. So here's a little bit of a photography thing. I'm going to be doing senior pictures this afternoon. Looks like the weather is beautiful. There's a lovely park right over there, and I'm going to go to the park and hopefully get there about 4 or 5, and that's what we call the golden hour, or as we start to get to the golden hour, right? The idea being that we'll be in the nice sun setting, the lights calmer, not so wild. At some point in time, I'm going to, well, it isn't, but I'm taking a break anyway because we're about to go into coloring on this. And I feel like we got some stuff to work out with coloring here. So we're going to be in coloring for a while. Springs doesn't take that long to do. An issue of Springs, a comic of Springs, doesn't take that long. So it's all right. I speak Central Time. I mean, I've been speaking Central Time since I was a baby. Since I was 2. My family lived in Houston and I lived here. So it's all good. I make the translation just fine. Use the brush here to brush some of the stuff off of my desk. All right. Urete. One of the things I'm going to need to do is buy some batteries for my lights. Because my light rig needs to be powered when I'm not near a plug. And so they make these rigs they make these batteries for my light rigs so that I can set up my lights in a park and use it as a bounce, which is what I intended to do, set up a bounce. Maybe I should set up a bounce. That'd be good. A bounce is a card that, is a big card effectively, and it just bounces the light like sunlight onto people, so you get a little bit of reflection off of one side. So, okay, moving back in. Let's get back in here. Let's go ahead and duplicate this layer so we can go ahead and get the colors in. Right. Hi there. There we go. Her shoulder pads are that color. She's not wearing her shoes because she's at the beach. Right? Yumi wears your shoes at the beach. You missed the point of the beach. I like the fact that my robots have shoes. I think that's funny. Beach color is this. And the water color is this. Hey, dude. You want to say hi to everybody? There we go. You're getting bigger. You know that? There we go. Now you can say hi. We're going to scritch. Get some scritches in. Some scritchy time for George. Scritchy time for George. Oh, you're a cat. You're a good cat. You're a little weird, but you're okay. Right? You're a good cat. I see you're taking a look at the microphone and saying, I wonder if I could talk in that microphone right there. Could I talk in that microphone? It could happen. Give scritches to the cat. Cat scritches. Kind of feel like seafoam might be this color. Right? There we go. Give those flags a dramatic red so you can see it there. Definitely on the ground. And we'll give that shell. There we go. Right. There we go. So that's the way this should look. It's pretty easy at this moment. Like we could probably just take an orange and do that. You know, maybe a lighter orange More like that color there. And then that way you're really just concentrating on what she says. And then I will open, moving over here, moving over here, moving over there, moving over there, moving over there. Waiting for a loading thingy. Well, that sucks. I'm not getting into the... There we go. Now it's awake. For a minute there, boy, it was having a real tough time. All right, because we need this section right over here. That's the section that's closest to the beach. All right, I shouldn't whistle while we've got music playing. That just seems like that's just asking for trouble. And by asking for trouble, that's we are all going to be out of, tune with one another. All right. Alrighty. The other thing we need to make sure we do here is go in and put these in, right? Because these need to be white. And so do the middle sections of her eyes. Maybe I should put just a gradient back there. Like that. And give it a different color. Nope. That's a horrible mix, guy. Never do that again. Could be that, though. Right? There we go. You know how this goes. We put in shadows, but we want to put it if you wonder why I always do 33% for the shadows, is A, that's pretty standard for me. But and keeps it standardized. The other real reason is that that's 1/3. So at least I know exactly how much I'm bringing down my color values here. Right? I always feel like someday I'm going to end up coming back here to all of these videos and going, how the heck did I do all of this? And then I'll be like, oh, I'm glad I yammered forever. Because sure did tell myself how to do all these things. Of course, the truth is I'll probably have evolved by then. And then I'm like, what? 33%? What kind of idiot am I? So comics do life. I mean, it's kind of robotics of life, right? Robots of life. And it's a thing the selects do where sometimes we like to be serious, but that's life, right? You know, it's not always going to be fun games. Because life isn't always fun in games. Well, hello, Termond. There's motion at my front door. Let's see what's happening at my front door. I don't know. Nothing happening at my front door. I have to signal something was happening at my front door. I don't see anybody. So, I'm guessing there's nobody at my front door anymore. Knock, knock, knocking at my front door. Nevermore. The ocean is chaotic. right? So we're going to there we go. There we go. We don't need to do anything on this panel. There we go. We'll add a new layer. This one is overlay. And then we'll switch to white. Because really we're just going to end up with that, right? Just a highlight across the top of her head. It is sunny. There we go. Just add to this chaos here.
Yeah, it's chaotically coming apart at the seams here.
As the water just chaotically chaotics. I like chaotic. There. I'm kind of feeling that one. That one's good. It's solid. Right? We're kind of sort of getting here on this one. There we go. Okay, we will call this one solid. And we just saved, so we're good there. So let's do the change canvas size. Bring this down to there. Okay. And we'll turn off all the things. Like that doesn't need to be there anymore. Blue really works well with this, so I'm going to leave that right where it is. And then we're going to say change canvas size. Nope, change image size. We're going to say save as. And we'll save it as a PNG. Because when we save these as PNGs, then it takes it a second. But once it does, we're done. We've done our bit for King and Country. There we go. Okay. So now let's talk a little bit about the next thing we're going to do today. And we're only going to work on it for a few minutes. But I was going to work on, oh my goodness. First of all, I'm going to sit down because I can. Because I've been standing this whole time, and that's good. But every so often, we should always sit down and take a break, right? I'm also going to open Blender. We were working on vehicles last week. We're waiting for Blender to load. And I was about to UV map them. Blender always has to open on the main screen, so we don't get it here where we should get it. I'd figured out how to get it unwrapped here, but it's doing the thing where it's like, I remember we could do a different kind of unwrap. Right, now I've got to remember how to do all of this. And like all of these things are all screwed up. Like I move them around and stuff, but they're not. I mean, this is a freaking truck. It shouldn't be that hard to unwrap. But I feel like the only thing I'm going to be able to do is mark the seams here. This is going to be such a pain. There we go. Mark this as the seam.
down like that. And then we will just continue along this vein. Which is not to be confused with going along this van. They used to have a really cool unwrap, which just unwrapped squares like it's supposed to. But now apparently that's, they've decided to go to this seam marking function, which I see what it's after, but when you're dealing with just squares, it's a little rough. Because now you've got to kind of figure out now how to do this and then go and say unwrap. There we go. Now it unwraps correctly, or at least somewhat correctly, although it didn't seem to unwrap totally correctly. Because now it looks like the front of it is one unit, which means we've got to go through and do more seams. This is an unseemly job. Where's Donald? That was a good joke. Okay, so this should come up as one side, this should come up as one side, and that should come up with one side. And let's see here. Unwrap. It's still really big on splitting it down the middle. However, at least I can fix that, right? I'll put this here. Ooh. Do all of these guys over here. At least I can do this. There. And this is the front. This is the top. Left, right, back. And that's half of the bottom. And this is the other half of the bottom. It's kind of irritating. Right? I mean, like if we were to go here and say that, we'd end up right. Exactly. That's what I thought. Okay, so I'm guessing, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, that's the central section we don't need to worry about because I suck at whatever. Anyway, it's not important. I'm going to scale this down because we don't need it. It's not important because it's the interior spot. This one, however, is important because I never know when I'm going to need to do something with it, I guess. I don't know. Uh-oh. I'm going to take this whole thing and kind of rotate it until it fits in here, because that's one of the things I really kind of want to do is get it to fit so I can maximize it. Part of the reason we're doing all of this in little pieces is that this way I can figure all of it out, things like that, and kind of get an idea of where everything goes. UV mapping is not one of my favorite things to do, but I really, really like the end result. And we've gotten pretty close here to being able to use the entirety of this page. And this is good because now we'll save. And this box, this is what the box will look like. So here's the front of the truck, so to speak. This guy's the next object in question, right? And we'll just go on ahead and just assume the worst. We're just going to assume that it already is going to need me to cut the seams in it. So let's go into edit mode. We'll do UV, and we'll cut the seams along the top, I think. Oh, the mirror needs to be set. Need to apply the mirror. Apply that mirror. Don't forget to apply your modifiers. I hate working sometimes with some of these things. It's like, why am I in this? What did you do, goober? Okay. Hi. Can I help you? What's up, George? What's up? What's up? Do you just need love? Is that what's going on here? You need scritches. Cats are propelled by scritches, you see. It's all right. You can do dishes. It is all good. That is an important, critical thing to do in life, and I agree totally with it, and you should do that. George, you're being really kind of strangely loving today. It's somewhat disturbing. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to do that. We're going to do this. We're going to take just the top off like this, because I feel like that's the thing. Right? And then we'll go down the sides like so. And that'll open everything kind of like a flower, but we need this side first. So say UV, mark seams. I hate adulting too, but you know what? Sometimes adulting is good for us. Do this, and then we say UV unwrap. And that actually went relatively well. So, okay. Almost worked like it's supposed to. Almost. Feel like I should rejoin this model because they're already too hard because of the mirror, and they're overcomplicated because of the mirror protocol that was put into it, because there's a line through the middle with an actual like wall inside there. And I think that's part of what's making this so difficult to understand. They are simple objects, but with complicated middles. So if I were to take this and instead take out this guy, just the vertices, right? And vertices here, and the vertices here, and the vertices here, then take these three and say make a face. Make a face. I made a face, right? And the command for making a face, by the way, in Blender is F. We do this back here, and we say F. And we say F. And then we take these two and these two, and we just make a face there. They look twisted back here, but that's because I think it's still like mad about what I was trying to do before. But I'll take this, 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 and this, and I'll make a face there, right? And then we'll do the same thing to the bottom. Here, 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 and here. We'll put a face in there too. We'll say there and there. And over here, we'll do the same thing, there and there. And we'll hit there and make a face. And now what we've done is we've made the box confused for this. So we're going to have to redo its UV unwrap. But, and I think actually we're going to have to redo the seams too. So we're going to clear the seams from this. And let's try this again this time. So we'll take here, and we'll just take the top, orc, 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 and bork, right? And that gives us that. And then we will unwrap it along this edge, like so, like so, like so, and like so. And we'll say UV, and we'll mark those seams. And then we need to come up with where's the break in the hull. And I'm going to make it forward. Mark that seam there so that it'll break forward there so we'll know what's going on. We'll take this guy now and we'll say, unwrap. And you can see that it's just perfectly straight now. It's just a straight up function. Only thing that's weird is that the front and the back here are kind of reversed. Like here's the top, here's the sides, here's the back, and here's the front, sort of thing. We can go in here and, kind of grab these points and move it to here. That's part of what you do kind of with UV work. UV wet work. I'm actually kind of wondering whether I shouldn't go back on the cab and do that to the cab as well. It just seems like a thing, right? There's double checking just to make sure. If we click here, that's the back. So we want to make sure this is the back. Okay. Right. So now when we do the bed, that's the back. And that's the front. No problem. I think I can annotate this and say, I guess I can't annotate it. There. Damn it. I was like, hey, look, cursive comes in handy. Oh, hey, why is it? What the? Okay, anybody want to explain this one? It's like I'm a ghost of front. Okay, so moving right along, we will take the image and we'll save as. And it's here. So what we're going to do is it's an untitled PNG. We're going to call this truck bed PNG. We've saved it to go to the truck bed there. And I have no earthly idea what its problem is and why it's flickering. That's really funny. We're going to go back to object mode. And front is just going to stay there forever. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to go back to object mode and we're going to select you, go back to edit mode. And when we bring this guy up, he comes up there and it looks really nice and everything like that. And now I'm kind of thinking of sort of working on, and change tools on you there. That is like the weirdest glitch I've ever seen. All right. And this guy I can save, export. I don't know. This guy I'll save as, and we'll call this truck cab. Okay. Save that. And now I'm going to see what these guys are doing. I mean, are they still kind of, where are we here? Does anybody know? Anybody know what's going on? This blinking weird we've got going on here. Where'd it go? Where did we save this stuff? Where did we save it? Image. Save as. Oh, in the pilot house. Well, no wonder I won't find it now. All right. Here. Open. Into Bellatrix Rising. Because I'll never find it here. Now, such a... Okay. The question is, did it save anything or is it just being dense? It's being dense. Okay, that's important. Blender's being stupid. Okay, so it's always these things that make me go, well, it's always, well, something's going on here. Okay, so setting my settings here. trying to figure out what's going on. So this is the truck cab. We'll save it as a truckcab.jpg. Trying to save this here. Let's see what happens when I open truckcab.jpg. There is absolutely nothing there. Sometimes I worry about Blender. And it's partially because this worked last time. And I think what's happened is somebody has upgraded Blender, decided that you needed to save it with click rendering or something like that. Render out your, I don't know what they decided, but whatever's the story, it no longer looks like this. This is no longer what it looks like. And what I can do is say new and come up with an 11 by 11 inch piece of paper, which is square, and then just hit. My new thing that was taught to me by my buddy Kundi, where you hit Windows Shift S, and then you select only the section you want to select. That's you. And now that's saved. And then I can hit paste, and that's all it put. Resize till you are. The only reason that this is not as good as it should be is we're going to have to fuss with it. It may not work like it's supposed to. So let me show you how this goes down. So we'll export as a wavefront object, okay? And we'll say truck cab .obj. So it just exported that in theory. We'll open DAZ to make sure this is working the correct way while DAZ is doing its thing. I'll come in here and real quickly we'll just put in basics, right? I'll grab my line tool. We'll set the line for 15 or so, right? Make sure it's out there and then go. All right, so we'll be like this. Undo. It needs to be bigger than that. Okay, like so. All right. We're just doing a rough outline because I'm not 100% sure this is going to work like I want it to. So until we are, this is what we're doing. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's not the direction we want to go. There we go, like so. So, because for one, I'm not entirely sure that Blender is exporting the whole thing. You know what I mean? I think that Blender is doing weird crap. So we're going to find out how weird a crap it's doing. What strangeness is Blender doing? I'll put little fake headlights here to make sure that we know that we are talking about the front of the vehicle. And we'll put the little windshield in just to see if it looks right. Put in little windows here so that it kind of at least somewhat looks like a truck cab, because this is, after all, a truck cab, right? So I'll go through here, bring this back up, and we will say save as, and it's going to, of course, put me, oh no, it put me in the right place, JPEG, and we'll say truck cab, right? Yeah, it already exists. So let's bring up DAS. And we will import. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to import. We're going to be in Bellatrix Rising in the ships and props. Nope. It's in maps. Or is it in sets? Sets. Pilot house, because what? Now we're going to see whether it exported. Yeah, it exported all of them. Okay, well, there's that. So, next thing's next. We have to go and delete everything that's not the truck cab, because it's going to. So we've saved, right? Let's save before we do this. And then we will delete, take you, and we will move you to like dead center here or whatever. We're not off center too much. There we go. And then export you. And we'll call you truck cab. And now we will delete you. Everything is so like finicky. No. Scale tool is pathetic in here. All right, we're going to take this guy and we're going to see what happens when we put the surfaces on. All right, we're going to browse, back out of maps, and into sets, pilot house, truck cab. Let's take a look. Okay. Actually, looks solid. So the truck cab is fine. Probably off by a small amount, but nothing major. Okay, cool. Well, hey, success, guys. Let's do this. Uh-huh. Now all of a sudden it doesn't want to do that multi-select because it knows what I'm after. It knows I'm trying to make this work. And this guy is also mapped. So we can then say export wavefront object and say truck bed. Right, and its MTL has also been. So if I do this, I can then take this guy here and do what we did before, which is Windows Shift S and select that, and then go in here, and we just say paste because we might as well just keep pasting it onto the same critter. And we go like this until this is the right size. There we go. And then we'll do the same thing we did before. We take you and go like this and make a new layer. Okay. take my line tool and we will make the bed of the truck. This is the underside. And we know that. Which means that we need to make sure we have that line and that line. And this line and this line. And then we'll go up here, go over here, go over here. Might as well add the bottom. And here's the bed. I'm going to make sure you go double over the lines when you're on the bed and things like that, because you don't want to accept that this line's going to do its job. I'll put tail lights on because tail lights, right? And that way we don't have to worry about it. And that way we can see which way is forward. And then we will bring this back up and we will say save as. We'll call this bed. Save that. We'll go into where are we? Here. And we will say import truck bed. Yes. I'm just going to put the truck bed in the wrong spot and be very, very small, right? First things first, let's go ahead and browse, grab its surface, truck bed. Truck bed. Do. Truck bed. Do. Okay. You'd think that I'd be done, but I'm not. 1,000 times. And there we go, guys. No truck bed. We don't have the engine pod, which would be right there, but once we do, I mean, that's not going to take time, but there's the front, there's the back, we have a truck. Not bad. I'm actually not unhappy with this. It'll be easy to do these, and then now I can just draw up different variations of truck beds, and they'll all look different. Because really the truth is, if you look at cars, they're all remarkably similar all the time, right? And so that's kind of a thing. Oh boy. All right. Well, we've come to the end of another exciting day where we've got things going on and stuff. I wonder if I could just extend that out and have an extended truck bed. I should also make little containers and stuff so that you can have a truck bed with containers. That should be a thing. I also noticed that I was getting a little bit of a rat's nest, not really like a rat's nest, but I was getting a tangle in my hair. And I'm like, well, that's when your hair is too long. So it's time for me to go get a haircut. I've noticed that. So we're going to be doing that too. But that's okay. As always, these things are the things that occur and stuff. So tonight will be Geek Tank, and it might just be me, myself, and I. And maybe I'll have Brent on, and we'll talk about something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So I may let you know. You may need to be drafted. That'll be at 9 o'clock your time. But you know how it goes. It's about 8:30 your time when I'll need you in green room. So we'll see how things go. Probably, and I don't know what we'll talk about. I have no earthly idea. But we'll figure it out when we get there. Okay. And that's all of the show that I'm going to do this morning. Probably going to keep working on this and see what I can do, because I've got kind of a set of objects kind of going on here. So we may be able to get all of these things figured out. And then I want to get into space armor is the next thing. What do my characters wear for space armor? I was watching Dirty Pair, and I notice that the Yuri and Kay have these pods on their calves, which have RC thrusters, and I thought, oh man, oh, I'm still out on Facebook, huh? I was like, oh man, those little RC thrusters would be cool to put them on our main characters' legs. So I've been thinking about putting little RC thrusters on our characters, so that we've got that. But then like a chest plate, and I like the 2 wing things that stand behind, so that you can have kind of those going on too. So that's what we're going to do at some point here, is make some armor plates that look cool. So in the meantime, though, I'm heading out. I will see you all tomorrow, and I may actually be fetching you tonight. All of Facebook is down. Facebook's been having problems, and that's a thing. Like Facebook's been embroiled in all kinds of crap. And so, I don't know. I'm seeing Facebook on my phone. So, anyway, in the meantime, I will see you all tomorrow, and keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye. Computer, good night.